Okay, in this section 3-8, the topic is equations of lines part 3. And so in this section we're looking at problems again where we're trying to write the equation of the line. However, in this section we're looking at different types of problems. Alright, so again this is a different way of asking the question, and so we'll have to look at some different information and go through a little bit different procedure in order to find the equation of the line. Alright, so there's nothing really new for us to learn here. We can get right into practicing the problems. And so here's the first one that we come to. We want to write the equation of the line that passes through this point, -5, -4, and remember your symbols, this is parallel. At the same time it's parallel to this line, -5x plus 2y equals to 8. Alright, so let's think about what we need to do in order to come up with the correct answer for the equation of this line. Now remember, if I have the slope and the y-intercept, then I can write it in slope-intercept form. They don't give me the slope and they don't give me the y-intercept. I have neither one of those two things. Now if I have a point and the slope, I can plug it into point-slope form. Now I do have a point, so I've got part of what I need, but the other thing that I need to plug into that form and rearrange would be the slope. I have a point, I need the slope. So the question is, how can we get the slope from the information that they've given me here? Alright, so I've got a point. This is the point that we'll use. -5, -4. We can use that point. Alright, but the question is, how are we going to find the slope? That's the other thing that we need to find. Well, look at this part of the problem, this information that they've given me here. They're saying that the line I want is perpendicular to this line. All right, now, remember in some earlier sections in this unit what we learned about parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Remember, parallel lines have the same slope, but perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocal. So if my line is perpendicular to this one, then my line is going to have a slope that's that's opposite reciprocal to the slope of this one. So the question is, how am I going to find the slope of this line? If I look at this, it's not in slope-intercept form, so I can't just read off the m, right? I would have to do some rearranging first, and that's going to be our task. So I need to rearrange this equation and solve it for y. It can be done in a couple of steps. First of all, let's move the x to the other side. So this will be 2y equals 8 is staying put, the 5 is moving over, and remember it'll change from -5 to +5 x. Alright? Now remember, manipulating equations like this is a skill that we've got to be able to have at our disposal, because you'll use it, of course, through geometry, you'll use it through algebra, pre-cal, and pretty much as long as you're taking math classes, that's a skill that you're going to want to need to be able to have. Alright, so again, what did I do? I just moved the term over across the equal sign, and remember when that happens, it's got to change sign. -5x on this side changes to +5x on the other side. What are we trying to do? We're trying to get y equals by itself, and we've almost done it. We got one more step. I'm going to divide both sides here by 2, and so now what we will have, the 2's will cancel, and it leaves me with y equals. Now this 2 divides into both of these. It's kind of like the distributive property. So 8 divided by 2 is going to make 4. Positive divided by a positive is a positive. 5 divided by 2, we could make that a decimal if we wanted to, but there's no need. Just leave it as 5/2. It doesn't divide out and it doesn't reduce, so we'll just leave it just like that. Now, remember, what were we trying to find? We're trying to find the slope of this thing. So now that I have it in y equals form, remember y equals mx plus b? The m is the slope and it's always in front of the x. So what's the number in front of the x? Okay, 5/2. So the slope of this line is 5/2. Well, remember, the line that I have is perpendicular to this one. So that means the slopes are going to be opposite reciprocals. So what do I need to do with 5/2? I need to flip it to -2/5. Okay, so if the slope of this line is 5/2, the slope of the line that I want is -2/5. And now we've got both parts that we need. We have the slope, we have a point, And so now we're ready to plug into point slope form. And once you get down to here, it's just like we did a couple of sections ago, where we plugged into point slope and we finished out the problem. All right, so that's what we'll do now. Remember what I told you, good practice, write the equation down. Y minus y1 equals m, open, x minus x1, and close. And so remember, y goes behind the y and changes sign. Y number is minus 4. It'll change to plus 4. The slope we need is negative 2 over 5. X minus the x number, so x will change from minus 5 to plus 5. All right. So we got that plugged in. We're in good shape now. And so from here, again, 2 steps, rearrange. Y equals, I'll move the 4 at the same time I distribute. Negative 2 over 5x times x is negative 2 over 5x. All right. Then, of course, this number has to also multiply by the 5. Negative times a positive is a negative. And 2 over 5 times 5, the 5 will cancel. Then that'll leave me with 2. But don't forget, you've got a minus 4 that's coming over here as well. Don't forget about that part of it. Plus 4 will move over to minus 4. Put these together and we're done. Y equals negative 2 over 5x minus 6. And that's what we've got now for our answer. So again, this part, once you get to here, it's the same as the problems that we've done in the earlier sections. The only new part is coming over here, rearranging this, getting the slope, and using the slope of this to get the slope of the line that I need. If it's perpendicular, then do opposite reciprocal. If it's parallel, then they'll have the same slope, and you would keep it the same. Okay, so like I say, this part is the only part that's really different from the problems that we've already done previously. So again, we'll go over here, we'll rearrange this so that we can get the slope, and then once we get the slope we need, we just go like we normally do. All right? So we'll practice several of these. The next one is one that says I want to find the equation of the line that passes through 2, 5, but it's parallel to 8x minus 2y equals to negative 16. Okay, so once again, I have a point, 2, 5, we got a point. But the other thing that I need is the slope. I need the slope. How are we going to get it? We're going to rearrange this equation right here. All right? So I need to rearrange this, make it start y equals, so I can read off the slope. The slope is the m. It's the number in front of the x. So if I want the y term by itself, I'm going to have to move that 8x over. And it's going to become negative 2y equals negative 16. And 8x will change to minus 8x. So if it's plus 8x over here, it's minus 8x over here. Notice the other two terms did not change sign. They did not change sign. If it was negative 2y before, it's negative 2y after. Why? Because it didn't move across. Negative 16 before is negative 16 after. Why? Because the 16 did not move across the equal. The only thing that moved from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation is the 8x. So that's why it's the only one that changes from plus to minus. So a lot of people, they'll just write 2y and drop that negative off. Remember, the sign in front of the number goes with the number, and it has to have the same sign unless it moves across. Now, if I move this 2y across, then it could change to plus 2y. But only if you move it across the equal sign. So I can't stress that enough. I see that mistake quite often. Okay? All right. One more step. We've got to get y by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. That'll make the negative 2 cancel, and we've got y equals. Now, I need to divide negative 2 into negative 16 and into negative 8. Remember, this is dividing into both of these. So negative and negative makes a positive. 16 divided by 2 makes 8. Negative and negative makes a positive, and 8 divided by 2 makes 4, and then there's still an x behind this. So now I've gotten it to a point where I can read off the slope. The slope of this line is 4, right? Because remember, the slope is the number in front of the x. All right, now I need to use that slope to get the slope that I need. Remember, these two lines are parallel. The line that I want is parallel to this line. And what do we know about parallel lines? They have the same slope. So if the slope of this line is 4, Then the slope of the line that I want is also 4. And we've got all the parts that we need now to plug back into point slope 4. And that's what we're going to do now. Remember, write the equation out first. Y minus y1 equals m open x minus x1. All right, so we'll plug in. Remember, the y goes behind the y and changes sign. The y number is 5. When it drops in, it'll change to minus 5. The slope we have is 4. It does not change. And the x plus 2 will drop in as minus 2. And again, that's because of the negative in the formula. We'll change the sign. All right, so we're good there. And so from here, move the 5, distribute the 4. So y equals 4 times x, 4x, 4 times negative 2, negative 8. Don't forget that your minus 5 is coming over and changing to plus 5. And then so when that happens, we'll have 4x minus 3 when I put those together. And that is going to be your answer. All right? So like I say, we're utilizing that line, the slope of this line, by rearranging it to get the slope of the line that I want. Okay? Now remember, this line is parallel to this one. They're not the same line. As you can see, they don't have the same equation, but they do have the same slope. Okay? They do have the same slope. All right. Let's try another one. Okay, so in this one, it says we want, okay, the line that passes through negative 2, negative 8, and it's parallel to the line through negative 3, negative 4, and 211. Okay, so let's stop and think about this for a minute. Okay, I want the equation of the line that goes through this point, but at the same time, it's parallel to the line that goes through these 2 points. Okay, so again, okay, I'm going to start off the same way by noticing that the point that's on my line. So here's the first question. Okay, which point am I going to use here to plug into point slope? Am I going to use the first one, or the second one, or the third one? Well, I need to use the first one. Negative 2 comma negative 8 is the only point that I can actually use in my point slope form equation, because that's the only point that they give me that's on the line that I'm trying to get. Okay, I'm trying to get the equation of the line through this point, not through these points. The line through these points is just parallel to my line, but these 2 points are not on my line, so I can only use the first point. Okay, but I also need the slope. Now, once again, they tell me that my line is parallel to the line that goes through these 2 points. So parallel lines have the same slope. So whatever the slope is of this line, the slope of my line is going to be the same. So the question then becomes, do we have enough information to find the slope of this line through these 2 points? And the answer is yes, because very early in the unit, we had problems that said, find the slope of the line through these 2 points. How do we do it? We just go off to the side, and we're going to say that m equals, remember it's change in y over change in x, and so I need the change in y on the top of the fraction. So from negative 4 to 11, that's going up by 15, so I'm going to put 15 as my top number. And from negative 3 to 2 is going up by 5, so I'm going to put 5 as my bottom number. And so remember, that's the formula change in y over change in x we got from earlier in the unit. All right, if I divide that out, that's going to be 3. So the slope of the line through these 2 points is 3. And that means the slope of the line I want is also 3, because the lines are parallel. Parallel lines have the same slope. All right, so there you go. All right, so again, if they give you 2 points of a line that's parallel, plug into change in y over change in x to get the slope of that line. And then if it's parallel, they'll have the same slope. And perpendicular, opposite reciprocals is what we would be looking for. All right? And so there you go. All right? Now, we're not finished, of course. Now we just have both of the parts that we need to plug into point slope. It'll look like this. Y minus y1 equals m open x minus x sub 1. All right, so y, the y number here is negative 8. I want to change that to plus 8. All right, equals, m is 3. We'll drop that right in. And the x number is minus 2. I'm going to change it to plus 2. Close that off. A couple of steps, rearranging here would be good. So y equals 3 times x, 3x, plus, that'll be 6. And don't forget you got a minus 8 coming back here, so my answer now is going to be y equals 3x and minus 2 is what we will have. All right? So again, it's all about finding a point and the slope of the line that you want from the information that's given. How about this one? Passes through 4, 7. So I'm going to use that as my point because my line that I want goes through that. And it's perpendicular to the line that goes through these 2 points. So once again, to find the slope that I want, I need to find the slope of this line. So just like last time, I'm going to use change in y over change in x. My y's go from 6 to 15. And that's going up, right? That's actually going up by, let's see, how much? It's going up by, let's see, from 6 to 15. It's going up by 9. Okay. And from 3 to 3, that's going up by 0. Now, here's the deal. 9 over 0, you can't divide by 0, so that's actually undefined. All right, that's actually undefined. All right, so if my slope is undefined, okay, we got to kind of go off to the side here just a minute and come up with, let's see, we're going to have to come up with a little kind of mini lesson in the middle of this to address undefined and 0 slopes. All right, so if my slope is undefined, right, then what we need to understand is that if it's undefined, that means my line is vertical. Okay, so if this line is vertical, okay, one that's parallel to it, right, one that's perpendicular to it, because it's perpendicular here, one that's perpendicular to it is going to be horizontal. So if an undefined slope, a line with an undefined slope is vertical, then one that's perpendicular to that is going to be horizontal. And horizontal lines have a slope of 0. All right? Now, okay, so that's the first basic thing to remember. Okay? Vertical lines, undefined slope. Horizontal lines, slope of 0. And I'm going to give you a little chart to help you remember that here in just a minute. Okay? But as far as finishing up this problem is concerned, anytime you have a slope that's 0 or undefined, your y equals mx plus b kind of breaks down. All right? So let me kind of show you what the equation of this line would be. So anytime you get a line, or if you're asked to find the equation of a line with a slope of 0 or a slope that's undefined, we don't need y equals mx plus b. We don't need point slope form. You don't need any of that. All right? So here's what you need. Okay? Let's graph this thing and see where it is. Okay? All right, so here is my point. It's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so there's my point. My slope is 0. Remember, a line with a slope of 0 is a horizontal line. So really what I've got here is I've got a horizontal line that goes through this point. Okay, so remember this is my x and y axis. And so the question is, what is the equation of this line going to be? All right? Well, if you've got a horizontal line, right, it's just going to be, the equation is just going to be y equals, all right, the place where it crosses the y-axis. So all horizontal lines, okay, they have the equation of the form y equals, and it's y equals whatever number it crosses at. In this case, it crosses at 7. Okay, so there you go. And so let's practice a couple more of these just to get the hang of writing the equation out. What if I had a line that was a horizontal line that hit right here at -2? Well, what would the equation of that line be? Well, again, what axis does it hit? It hits the y-axis, so it's y equals. And where does it hit it? It hits it at -2. The equation of that line is y equals -2. Any horizontal line is going to have an equation y equals something. What about if I switched it up and had an undefined slope? Let's say I had an undefined slope and it hit, say, right over here at 1, 2, 3, 4, and comes through right there. So I've got a vertical line now. And so what is a vertical line? What's it hitting? It's hitting the x-axis, so the equation is going to be x equals, where does it hit it? At 4. Okay? So vertical line, slope is undefined, and it hits it, and the equation is x equals wherever it hits the x-axis. Okay? Horizontal line, slope of 0, and the equation is y equals wherever it hits the y-axis. So let me give you a little chart to kind of keep that straight. Okay? Let's see. All right, if you've got a horizontal line, then number 1, the slope is 0, right? And the equation is y equals wherever it hits the y. Y equals y1. If you've got a vertical line, then the slope is undefined, and the equation is x equals wherever it hits the x-axis. All right? So that little chart will kind of help you keep it straight. So just remember, anytime that you've got a line that you're trying to find the equation of whose slope is 0 or whose slope is undefined, remember your y equals mx plus b, your point slope form all breaks down. You just go to horizontal or vertical, and it's just y equals some number or it's x equals some number, and that some number is wherever it hits the axis at that point. All right? So remember, if it's a vertical line or a horizontal line, it's a very short equation. It's just y equals some number or x equals some number based on where it hits. All right? And so with that, that should be everything that you need in order to finish up your quiz. By the way, while I'm thinking about it, we are now done with Unit 3, and so what that means is the next time we have class, your test will be open for you. Okay? All right, so there you go.